Good evening YouTube and welcome to Kapow Toys Presents. I'm your host King Grimlock and tonight we're going to be looking at Generations Drift. Oh yes, now you might not be too enamoured with his interpretation, or should I say introduction into the IDW universe. You might not like the fact that he's a Decepticon side-switching, Autobot, Samurai Ninja kind of dude who kicks some ass. But what you can't deny is he makes a beautiful looking toy. Off the bat, we see that Drift is in his Earthen mode rather than his Cybertronian mode. This mode is yet to be depicted very clearly in the comics, so I'm expecting it in the ongoing at any time soon. Where is Drift? But what we have is a Japanese drift car, highlighted by what I'm guessing is kanji down the side. Andy, Cobra Commander TFW, you'll be able to tell me what that says, I'm sure. And the paint apps are very reminiscent, or evoke memories of the old Japanese flag, the Land of the Rising Sun flag. It's just a lovely style, really. It's beautifully painted. What you do get, though, because there are so few paint apps on the main body of the car, it is all cast in white plastic, is that they have gone to the extra length to pick out paint apps on the front grille, on the alloys. Big point of mine. I love the fact that they've done that. I hate it when there's no detail picked out on the alloys. And around the back, the rear lights have been coloured in, and the back grille as well. Unfortunately, they have decided to paint the rear windows in rather than leaving them clear plastic, like the side and the front, and even the headlamps. Slightly disappointing. Could have been better there, but I imagine due to the way the toy transforms and what stands where in his robot mode, that might have got damaged. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's a missed opportunity there. What you also see in the front window is two appearing to be seats. It's nice detail. A lot of the detail has actually been picked out. I would normally complain that the front bumper and the skirt hasn't been picked out, or part of it has, but because it is an all-white drift car and it has these decals on it, you know, it does appear to have been just a choice to not pick that out. What you don't get picked out, though, is the exhausts, which are sculpted in there, and these little runners at the back, which is a real shame, because it would have been nice to have that sculpted detail picked out. But as is normally the case with Hasbro, that sort of detail does get left. On the underside, we have the big sword. I will get into detail on that when we cut up the robot mode, and you can see robot kibble. There is no denying leg and arm, and you can just make out the back of his head in there. It's a shame, but you know what? The overall aesthetic of the vehicle mode is so nice that I can almost forgive just about any amount of robot kibble on it. And it does what it's supposed to do. Guess what? It rolls. You know, and you couldn't really ask for too much more from it. But you're not really going to display him in this mode now, are you? You are going to be displaying him in his kick-ass, badass, robot, ninja, cyber, samurai kind of dude. Well, I don't even know what Drift is, really. But let's take a closer look at him, shall we? And then we have Awesome Drift in his awesome robot mode. Yeah. Oh, he's beautiful. I'm going to just go mad about how beautiful this toy is. He is stunning. The amount of work that's gone into him. He's clearly one of the flagship parts of the line. He really is one of the figures they've put a lot of time and effort into. The sculpted detail is amazing. All the way down the arms there is detail. Under the chest canopy there's detail. All the way in the legs there is loads and loads of tiny little sculpted lines, just picking out all the robotic parts. You go around to the back, you've got sculpted detail in the back. There is sculpted detail on the sword. Let's have a closer look at that, shall we? Big sword. First problem, it's rubbery, so it does bend. But I'm not sure how easily you'll be able to make that out. There are Cybertronian symbols down it. Mr. Chris McFeely, would you please translate for me? Big sword. And then we actually have sculpted detail on the inside of the arm recesses. I mean, who's going to be looking there? Well, me. But who's really going to look there? Who's going to notice? And they've gone to the effort, you know, on the inside of the legs. It's just insane that they've gone to the effort of all this extra detail. Fantastic. Now, articulation. For somebody who you're really going to be wanting to get into a lot of poses, this guy has the articulation to do it. The head is on an upward-downward joint. It's a pin joint through there. It's also on a swivel, so it almost gives the full ball joint articulation. Why is it not on a ball joint? I don't really know. I'm sure there's a reason for it. And then we'll take a quick closer look at that. It's got what we're here. Tigertron, anybody? Repaint coming soon, I'm sure. And then on the arms, we have ball jointed shoulders, and then a joint at the top of the shoulder, on the bicep, double joint at the elbows, and a ball jointed wrist. The reason for the ball jointed wrist becomes quite clear soon. On the hips, we've got ball joint for the scabbards, ball joint on the hip itself, twist on the thigh, bend at the knee, and then that's really it for the legs, which is a shame. But the reason for that, it becomes quite clear. You can get articulation out of it by moving the foot panel around, and that also gives you some movement in the back of the leg, so it makes him look like he's got his leg broken there. But because of this quite solid structure from the legs, it does mean that you can have quite a base to do things like that with. He is immensely posable because he's got solid structure to his legs. I mean, it's a weird thing to say, you'd expect more articulation the better, but because of the way he's articulated, and because of the way he's built, you know, you can get some amazing poses out of him just by... Get down, boy. You know, just because of those solid bases. Very reminiscent almost of animated oil slick or jazz, when you know, you could add those extra bits to make the feet that much bigger. Other than that, though, the articulation, which you really can't ask for much more than that, is, you know, is fairly standard. He doesn't, unfortunately, have a waist twist, which is a weird one, really. I expected it to, but he's got just about everything else. If I can get him to stand still for you. Onto his weaponry, because that's what this guy has become quite famous for, is the sword. You've seen the big sword, now the two little swords, kept in scabbards, which are actually the doors of the car. They store in vehicle mode. This is a joint there. So all the weapons are stored in vehicle mode. And they fit on either side of the fist. So we have a very well armed Drift. Do love the chrome paint on there, absolutely fantastic. Same colour as the wheels, so these come across almost as like little shields. And because of the massive amount of articulation, he can do just about anything with his arms. You know, you can twist the hand in any direction you want. So you can, you know, you can really, there's a lot of play value in this toy, an amazing amount. It's just actually, it's crazy how they've added all the detail to it just to give those play, because it's got all these extra weapons. You do feel that if it didn't have the three swords, he wouldn't have this articulation. And that becomes very clear in with the big sword, because get that foot back in. With this guy, the ball jointed wrists really become quite clear. Because it's an absolutely enormous sword, you can actually bend the wrists around and get him to hold it double-handed. Now, it is quite limited in what he can do with it because of the chest. They've kept the chest quite flat, but he is quite limited what he can do with the sword once he's got both arms on it. But he can hold it. And the fact that at no point do you have to not have the weapon stored. You can have the small ones in the side. You can have the big one on his back. You can have him without any of them. And the fact that you don't have to do that is a real coup. A real coup. For a one thing that I'd like to point out is for a predominantly white and red figure, or white and black figure, grey, they have gone to town picking out the tiny little paint apps that, again, maybe they didn't need to, but it's lovely that they've bothered. The gold motif all the way through, pick out on his crotch as well, and the red, little red areas on the wrist and on the thing. It just helps to break up the white, because there would have been a lot of white and grey otherwise. But overall, shall we say, I couldn't be happier with this guy. I mean, I think he's absolutely fantastic. Ever since he was announced, I was really pleased to be getting him. Really pleased to be able to see what Hasbro could do with him. This is Kapow Toys Presents. This is King Grimlock. This is Generations Drift. This is me so happy I could scream. Thanks for watching, guys.